Good morning, everyone. Brent Budrow here with the Furrow. Thanks for stopping by and joining us here today. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. The Furrow, we're talking everything that happens to the furrow, things you can put in the furrow in ways today. For instance, you can help that furrow to be the ideal placement for that seed and that seedling as it starts off to get to where it is here today. Today I'm with Ken Sauder with Precision Planting. Ken, thanks for joining us today. And what are we going to be talking about?
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. So basically, we're all sitting here today, and we're 30 days away from harvest. We're going to get a score on how we did the day we planted. And as you think that through, and as a grower, my challenge is when I sit in that tractor seat, I got to create the perfect furrow. I got to place the seed down at the bottom of the trench, and then after I have done that, I've got to close that furrow. And I've got to close it in such a way that I set that stage for the maximum yield potential. So we're going to talk here on how do I close that. There's a number of different systems in the market. If you're running just a standard closing wheel system, so 2 rubber wheels, and for years that's been the standby. My challenge with that is that the right scenario for most of the conditions we grow in? Because I know that as a grower, when I'm sitting there and I'm running through the field, I have parts of my field that's really nice powder conditions, doing a great job, but then I have a few areas that are a little damp. And when I go through that damp area, how do I close the furrow? Is it the same as where I was across the top of the knob that everything was nice conditions? And how about down through the low ground? What's the differences? So we've done a lot of studies with that. We chase that with different planters. It doesn't matter what brand. Is we look at it, how do I close the furrow? And for years we've said if I'm running a double rubber, I know there's an advantage to always staggering the wheel. I can take and replace one of the rubber wheels with some kind of a spoke, a spike, cast iron, depending upon your conditions, sometimes no-till, sometimes a vertical till. Each scenario has different conditions. And as we chase that, I know that, the key to that is where do we set the T-handle for the amount of down pressure on our closing wheel system. And we have notch 1, notch 2, notch 3, notch 4. And our challenge is, when I'm wrong, it's a 6 to 10 bushel yield hit. And is that just in one area? So what's my average across the field? Because that's what we gotta deal with.
Yeah.
And really what we're looking at here would be where we're coming in here. We use a 2-stage closing system. We have a sensor where we're actually measuring how much pressure I'm putting down. So we set the depth. We want to break the sidewalls. We want to force those together. I want moist soil over the top of my seed. That is how we win at that stage. But then I got to actually, we use what we call a stitch wheel to firm that soil back down.
Okay.
And if I compress it too much, we actually restrict root development. It's going to take longer for emergence.
So looking at this here, how high above the seed or are you placing this to where it's not flipping the seed out? That's always a big topic with these aggressive spoke wheels.
Sure.
Where are you placing that?
Sure, so we always look at the bottom of the trench. If we all know where we set the T-handle, right? 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, 2 inches, 2 1/4. A lot of discussion on what is the correct depth, but I'm always going to have this set for a 1/2 inch above the bottom of the trench.
Okay.
That way I will never have a disturbance. All I'm trying to do is get those sidewalls closed over the top of that seed at that point.
Okay, very good. So how is this adjusted as far as being able to change the pressure? Where is that adjusted? How is it adjusted going through the field?
Sure. So for years we worked with way pins on down pressure for my row unit. We just took that same technology, we brought it into what I call the closing wheel stitch wheels. So we put a way pin, sits right in here at this point. We measure that. We have a control module here, and basically we have sub-second accuracy as we go through the field. We're constantly changing the amount of pressure we put on this.
Wow.
So, if you want to think of it, how we look at it is it's like having somebody running behind the planter And that T-handle, while it's a notch 1 in this area of the field, needs to be a notch 2. And as we get to that point, what are we doing? We're just automatically changing that, and we're doing that with that load sensing scenario.
Wow, this sounds like it just takes out a lot of the variability in a soil throughout a field. I mean, for instance, you look at a lot of the fields this spring, they were planted into mostly ideal conditions. However, everybody has those wet spots that, hey, it's not totally fit, but hey, let's go into it. And this sounds like the perfect way of maybe lifting that pressure up so you're not just compacting that and making it hard for those seeds to come through.
That's exactly what we're after. And I know that it's changing conditions every day we plant. I say the first day we plant corn, what do we know? The reality is that 80% of the field's fit, 20%'s a little damp.
Okay.
And day 2, we have the same thing as day 1 because we planted our dry field first.
Yeah.
So by day 3, day 4, we have different conditions. And are we making those changes? And some of you understand well, there's times when 2-3 hours, if I get a field cultivator 3 hours ahead of a planter, I have a whole different scenario than if I'm sitting here and it's only an hour apart.
That's true. That's very true.
So this is a way to compensate and make sure that we're always compressing soil. I want to seal that. I want to make sure that I have that mellow path for that kernel when it emerges coming to the surface.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you for joining us here today. This sounds like a very interesting tool and another piece, something for growers to look at that are watching the Furrow here today. Stay tuned. We have another, this is going to be a 3-part series with Ken. Our next series, Ken, give us a little insight about what we can expect in the second video of this series.
So we're going to chase a little bit of what I call nutrients, basically on that planter pass. Once I create the furrow, I place the seed correctly, I destroy the furrow. I've got to make sure I've got each seed ready to take advantage of the maximum yield potential. Nutrient availability is a piece of that puzzle.
Okay, so nutrient availability. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.